And for the last part of my comments, I'm going to ask Chief DeRosa to come up here and talk about something very exciting happening in town that everyone will have a chance to be a part of.
Good evening, and thank you. I was told to keep it brief, but I don't know if I can do that on this topic. Some of you may already have known or are aware that we've been chasing our antique fire truck, a piece of Madison's history, for a very long time, and we've actually come across it. So I'm here tonight to explain a little bit of the story and to get you to understand how we came about this and what it means not only to the fire department but to the town of Madison. This is not a Madison Fire Department project. This is a project that started through us, but we've taken on many private citizens that are working for this. It's a piece of Madison's history that just happens to be a fire truck. And I head the committee along with Joe Longo, Bruce Goodwin, Carmen Toto, and Frank Forte, or John Forte, excuse me. And we head that committee, and we've been meeting, I don't know, quite regularly since June to go on. So anyway, this is a quick story of our antique fire truck. How this all started. We've been looking for this. Joe was chasing this, Joe Longo, for a while, and he came up cold back in the end of last year, and we thought it was a lost cause. The last contact we had with the truck we were looking for was when we heard it was in Las Vegas in a museum, and we heard it went to Ponderosa Ranch, and then we couldn't find it anymore. So we were we didn't know what else to do. So when one day walks into the firehouse this gentleman by the name of Pete Isley, who's a Chatham resident, former history teacher of Joe's when he was in Harding, and he's also a fire truck nut. My words, not his. Yeah, a real nice guy, but he's a savant when it comes to fire trucks. He just rattles them off, where they went, who's got them, where they go, what they do. No, it's his. So this fire truck on the top over here, this 1931 Ahrens-Fox, was Madison's hook and ladder truck back in the day. And he brought in to show us the picture on the bottom of what it looks like today after somebody cut it up and restored it to that, which isn't kind of nice, but it was the best that they could do. And he was just showing it to us, and Joe happened to mention to him long ago that we were looking for our Ahrens-Fox. You think you got any ideas? And he says, I know a few people. Let me make a couple phone calls. And inside of, I don't know, 3-4 weeks, he found it, our Ahrens-Fox right there, our 1921 Ahrens-Fox, who has been on an amazing journey in the United States. He not only found it, he made contact, or he came up with a name, a phone number, and he found out the truck was still available. It was available and on the market to be sold. It was in a private collector's hands in Ware, Massachusetts. Now, this truck here, it all started back on July 22nd, 1920. Around 6 o'clock in the afternoon, a mean lightning storm came through, and Mrs. Geraldine Rockefeller's Dodge's estate, one of her barns got struck by lightning. The ensuing fire killed one of her favorite horses along with a couple other horses. Well, it was determined at that time that Madison didn't have the capacity to pump enough water fast enough to put out her fire. So what she did and what she decided to do, not only for her but for the town of Madison, was buy a fire truck, which is an incredible thing unto itself. So she set out to buy a fire truck. The roll call sheet you see there was the original roll call from that we found in our archives in boxes of stuff that we saved over the years. So as a result of that fire, she went out and bought a fire truck. Now this fire was in July of 1920, July 22nd to be exact. The fire truck she purchased was delivered on May 4th. Now normal build time in that day, we found out, was 18 to 24 months. This thing happened in about 8 months. She paid $18,000 for a truck in 1921. Average cost then for a fire apparatus was maybe $5,000 to $7,000. The Model A was going for $800, at the time. So she bought the best of the best. Mrs. Dodge was a friend and an ally of the fire department over the years too. You know, it's well known she loved animals, but we can argue that, you know, her second love was the Madison Fire Department. This is her and Mr. and Mrs. Dodge on the left. This was one of our mascots from years ago, Smokey, and that's Mrs. Dodge with former Chief of Department Ed Danaher when we were giving her an honorary membership badge, which we do still have in our possession. The truck that she purchased, the Ahrens-Fox, it was considered the Rolls-Royce of fire trucks in its day. This is not the truck, but this is one that's exactly like it, just happens to be white. The distinguishing feature of this truck is a chrome dome on the front, which was like a expansion chamber for the pump, because it was a piston pump. The Model P4 that she purchased for it, there was only 23 Model P4s made. Of the 23, of the Model Ps, of the 23, only 9 were P4s, and you could see where they all went. Most of them were in Passaic, where the garment district, where there was a lot of money, a lot of industry over there that could afford them, and Madison. Of that Model P4 series, there's only, we thought 2, now we find out there's 3 left in the world. One of them is ours. That model, this picture here, is of former Chief of Department Samuel Grover, also former mayor of Madison as well. This was taken at the Central Avenue Fire Station, right inside the bay doors when it was first delivered. It's got its original wooden wheels and solid rubber tires on it when it was first delivered. On May 14th, and we found this out through going back, Joe and I went to the basement of the old Madison Eagle and dug through the old papers, and we found the newspapers before and after the event. On May 14th, they had a huge parade in Madison. It was attended, according to the Madison Eagle, over 10,000 people were here. They had a parade that started on Central Avenue and went all the way around, back on the Waverly Place, past the reviewing stand. You could see the visiting fire chiefs from as far away as New York City. All the big cities, Passaic, Newark, Patterson, were there to honor this big event. And there was many other dignitaries, mayors, speeches given. The newspaper said it was a bigger event than when they dedicated James Park. I wasn't around for that either, so I got nothing to equate it to. But it was this grand parade. It was a dinner at the fire station that evening. It was a huge, huge event because she donated a fire truck. I don't know how many people you know that donated a fire truck to anybody, but not only did she donate one to Madison, she donated a total of 3 to Madison in her history. She donated 2 Macs later on to help provide protection to the citizens in the town. One of the distinctive things that was done to this truck too was a plaque, and this plaque was sitting on attached to a bell in the fire station. We've rung it for meetings for years. That chrome plaque you see up there, presented to the fire department in the Borough of Madison. Every other Ahrens-Fox ever made, that same plaque just said Ahrens-Fox with a serial number and a patent date on it, except the one that Mrs. Dodge bought, because she wanted to say what she wanted to, and that's it. So we have it, and it's going to go back on once we purchase it. This is a picture of a fire where it was out on Waverly Place when it was pumping in its day. But the Ahrens-Fox served the Rose City for over 40 years. And it finally had its major, failure of parts when at the St. Vincent's fire. I don't know if many remember that back in the 50s when the steeple caught fire. And it burned when they were in there having there was actually a mass going on, and they had to get the kids out and whatnot. But it burned. It was out of service for about 20 minutes, so they were able to get it back running again. It was deemed unreliable at the time. It was placed in reserve, and eventually in 1960, a new Mack pumper was purchased, and then the truck was sold. And that's when it started its own journey. It went on to Ashley, Pennsylvania. Rumor has it, they thought it blew the motor when they were trying to drive it over Schooley's Mountain. It turned out they just overheated it, and then they ended up getting it towed the rest of the way. From Ashley, Pennsylvania, held on to it for about 3 or 4 years, and then they sold it to a museum in Nevada. It's set in Harrah's Museum. And then it was sold to a private or another collection agency, and then it went on to the Ponderosa Ranch, and then it was purchased by a gentleman in Ware, Massachusetts in 1981. And that's where it's been ever since, up in Ware, Massachusetts, sitting in a private collector's realm accompanied by 149, 150 other motorcycles, antique cars, and whatnot. In beautiful, pristine shape. So on July 22nd, 2012, a group of us and my 8-year-old or 7-year-old son back there took a ride up to Ware, Massachusetts on a Sunday afternoon. And we went up there, unbeknownst to us, on July 22nd. 92 days to the day her barn got struck by lightning. Now talk about fate, and if you believe in all this stuff with the stars lining up, I don't, but I'm starting to after dealing with this. Again, the roll call from that, July 22nd, 1920, so 92 years to the date, we go up and visit this truck. And this truck ran, it started, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous shape. For 92 years old, God, I hope I look that old. That's it right there when we took a picture when we drove it up into the parking lot.
You won't look that good when you're 92.
You may have to grow now. Yes, I'm
What did he say?
nice. I used to like him. And here's a picture of me and my son Joshua when we went up there. Interesting enough, when we left, because we spent about 4 hours with the truck and getting to know the guy, get him to understand who we are, and that we were very serious in bringing the truck home. The present owner is just overly concerned about where the truck was going to go. He likes to see them end up from where they started, but how it's going to be cared for is he didn't want it in a pole barn in someone's backyard or under a tarp, under a tent. And we had to assure him, 3 ways from Sunday, how this truck was going to be taken care of and respected, because it was part of our history, but part of Madison's history, that, something that Mrs. Dodge had given to us. Mrs. Dodge's son, Hartley, who this building was built in his honor, in his memory, rode in this fire truck in the parade when it was delivered, because it was documented in the Madison Eagle that he played a key role. And he was 12 years old at the time. I mean, what a big thrill for him as it was for my son. As my son said to me as we were leaving, Dad, how come we're not taking the truck home with us? And I said, well, we've got some stuff to work out over there. So to that end, with him, not that I'm going to go on, but in our house we have a little whiteboard, and he writes his Christmas list on it. I looked at it this morning. There was a number written down, $150,000. And I said to him, Joshua, what's this? He goes, I'm asking Santa Claus for the money for the truck. So as cute as the story it is, that's what we're going for. And that's what the truck is going for. What is the fair market value of this truck? In July of this year, a truck, the 1925 Ahrens-Fox Model NS4, very similar to ours, but the Model Ns are almost like the plain Janes. They're smaller motors, smaller pumps. It went for $198,000 at auction. And our old ladder truck, which was chopped and turned into like a riding vehicle, went for $93,000. So we just had ours appraised, and it was appraised between 140 and 160. So 150 is pretty much right in the ballpark as fair market value. And that's it right over there. So I'm here to just tell you about this, that we're kicking off our campaign. We're waiting to get our 501c3 designation established. We're probably a couple days away from that, huh, Ray?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm writing it down.
Ray's helping us out with that, getting that going. And then once that's started, we'll have a website set up for it, for donations. We're going to be doing fundraisings, everything from pancake breakfast to who knows, sky's the limit. And I encourage anybody from the public that has any ideas or wants to make a donation towards it, that's great, but any ideas for fundraisers or thoughts on how we can do it. The owner of the truck was nice enough and kind enough to loan/lease us the truck for 1 year. So we have this truck sitting in our fire station now. He allowed us to take the name Ashley off and put Madison on it. So there's a letterer there now. We picked it up Friday. We went up Friday with a caravan, a couple cars, and we had a tractor trailer that transports antique vehicles, and drove it back from Ware, Massachusetts. It got here about 4:30 Friday afternoon. We took the letters off over the weekend, and the new ones are going on right now. So it'll say Madison, as it rightfully should, when we get it. But it's in beautiful shape. I welcome anybody to stop by and see it. We're proud to show it. It's a part of Madison's history. Mrs. Dodge was so instrumental in helping to protect the citizens of Madison by giving us the tools to work with. Like I said, she bought us 3 fire trucks in the course of her life. Gave us this building, gave us the train station across the street. And there's many people that don't know that. I mean, I've run into newer residents that, who's Mrs. Dodge? And you start explaining about the Dodge Foundation, and when you watch Channel 13, that little trailer at the end, this is made through a donation of the Dodge Foundation. Well, that's our Mrs. Dodge, as we refer to it. We also want to use this as a teaching tool for fire prevention, and to carry on the legacy of Mrs. Dodge, to make people really aware, the kids, so they can continue to understand who she was and what she meant to this town, because she adopted Madison. Everything I've read about her and learned about her over the years, she really genuinely cared about what we did and how we did it. She just wanted to make life better for Madison. So that's my spiel. I hope I didn't go on too long.
Chief did a great job. Any questions comments from the council? So there'll be plenty of opportunity for the residents to help give Geraldine a permanent home. And just as this was a great story, and every time you come to a council meeting, you never know when you might see a great story like this. So if you're planning to come to the next one, I said October 8th. October 8th is Columbus Day. Our next meeting is October 10th, so please correct your calendars. But again, Chief...
The truck will also be on display on Bottle Hill Day, too, and we're going to be selling T-shirts at that day to start recouping and generating some funds, so thank you.
Thank you very much.